Everybody, Mr. Miller here. I'm going to show you in this lesson how we can continue to make a professional style magazine cover using something called creating something called, a cover line. So in the professional design world for magazine covers, I found this really neat document actually online which explains a lot of good stuff, and I'll have it here on Blackboard for you if you want to take a look at it. There is a element called cover lines, and cover lines are all these side little lines over here of text, little blocks of text that tell you a little bit about every story that's in there. There's a main cover line, and then there's other cover lines in there. Then there's plain cover lines over here, model credit, and of course you have your main image. So we've already done the main image part. Now we need to start filling in the rest of it. We've also done the header, also known as a masthead. So if I go back over to my Pro Mag cover, this is where I left off with it. I have a bass guitar magazine. I did not create the guitar magazine down here. I can do that in a couple different ways. Probably the easiest is just create a little text box. I'm going to go ahead and try to find a font that's very similar to that. One of the things I like to do is hold down Control and scroll forward and kind of zoom in there. Let's see what we got going on here. Okay, so to find that kind of font, guitar magazine, and it's going to be pretty small. Can't really see that. So I'm going to go over here to my font list, and I'm going to try to match up what I think that might be. It would help if I highlight it first and make it bigger so I can see it. There we go. That actually looks pretty darn close. Let's make that bold, and not too bad actually. So let's stick with that for now. We can change it up. I'm going to click on that text box and tighten this up around there, and then click and move it around. Now you can see it's quite a bit bigger than probably what I want here, so I'm going to dial down the size a little bit, click on the edge of it, highlight it, and I'm certainly going to make it a different color. Now this is a good lesson in what we're going to talk about with cover lines, is when you have text, you want it to be a good contrast. Right now we've got black over a dark blue, and that's certainly not a good contrast, whereas the yellow or light gold color and the white against that background here is really good. It's a good contrast. So you want dark versus light and light versus dark. Well, this is definitely dark against dark, so we need to change that up. Let's go over here to maybe that yellow cover, color, and not too bad. Just to give you an idea, if I made it something like this, I'll go to more colors and made it that red color, you can see that really doesn't pop out as well as it would against a white background. So I'm going to stick with my really light colors. Maybe if you wanted to do like a pastel color, like a light blue, that actually doesn't look too bad, but I'm not in love with it either. So I'm going to click on this. I'm going to move it around with my arrow keys, and we're going to call it good right there for now. All right, it might be cool if I crop this photo down. If I want to just cut off a little bit of extra headspace here, if I click this and bring up the picture menu and hit crop, you see these change up. I can go ahead and lower that down like that, and I'm in good shape. Now you can see that I've got some white in there, so all I have to do is click on that rectangle and stretch that down, and I'm good to go. So I click on the save button because I made some changes. Control S is also good for you, and then we're good there. Now without getting into too much detail, I'm just going to quickly go ahead and add some sidebar stuff here, some cover lines. So let's try to recreate this over here. Again, I'm going to go with a text box. I'm going to put all capital letters, so I'm going to put caps lock on. I'm going to make name Steve because this is the Steve Miller Band. I'm going to go ahead and make that bigger, and I'm going to try and match that font up. Could be an Arial black. This is always the fun part, trying to figure out what font we have here. Let's try Calibri bold. That's actually not too bad, and you can always go back and change it as well. Okay, so I'm going to tighten this up. I prefer to make all of my text different. All right, we've got this I like to do mine separate as far as the different words, so go ahead and highlight that. We're going to just toss a nice bright color in here. Now, to make that the same font, I'm going to go ahead and hit Control C for copy, which is the same thing as going to edit and copy. You see Control C, and then I'm going to Control V as in Victor for paste, and you can see I've got the same thing there. I'm going to put Miller in here, and you see it cuts it off a little bit, so I'm going to go ahead and bring that in there. Now I can go ahead and click on the edge of this and move it around like that. Get it real tight. Okay, now once I've got that going, I can go ahead and click over the two of them just by clicking and dragging, and go ahead and group the objects. And now I can move them together, and there we have the name of that artist. Okay, and then we have a subline down here. It says, "We pay tribute to the master." Let's go ahead and just copy or emulate that. Again, text box. Notice too, if you zoom in here, I'm going to go in tight to that. Capital W, and then everything else is a small letter. So you want to pay special attention to that stuff. We pay tribute to the master. Now, a lot of questions I get on this is, do you have to copy or emulate exactly what's said over here? The answer is absolutely not. You want to change that to go along with your pictures. So I'm going to go with that Calibri font again. We're going to bold it up. We're going to make it a little bigger. And just to make sure here, we're going to get a nice light color like that. Let's go ahead and unbold that. And I don't like it that big. This really is too big for that, so I can drop it down in size a little bit, like so. I'm going to go ahead and do that. Tighten that up, and then I like to use those arrow keys on the keyboard to really snug it up and make sure that I'm tight. Now again, it looks really, really weird with the dotted lines, but remember, once you save this and go to File, Page, or excuse me, Print Preview, you're going to be able to see it without that. Now, for some reason, this doesn't show up as yellow. Sometimes that happens, so if that happens, don't worry, it will be yellow. But that is how you start getting your sidebar stuff in there, or your cover lines. So you want to continue to make your design look professional, and just continue to emulate and copy this. Make it look like the real thing.